Hello folks, welcome back. Today we are actually taking a little bit of a break from our Players Cup analysis. We're getting, we've had a lot of Series 5 Sword and Shield VGC over the past, few weeks. But what we are instead looking at today, we're going back in time a little bit and looking at some of the awesomer games, more renowned games in Pokemon history, world's finals type stuff. Specifically, today we are looking at the 2016 World Championships final between Wolfe, Glick, and Jonathan Evans. Now, this was a this was a restricted format, so restricted Pokemon like Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, those are all in the game, and this was in Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby. So we are in 2016, which means that this also includes Mega Evolution. This includes the Primal Reversion from Kyogre and Groudon. So this is a very, very powerful format, kind of the peak of what we get in, VGC. Of course, this doesn't have stuff like, it has Xerneas Yveltal, it doesn't have Solgaleo, doesn't have Lunala, it doesn't have Ultra Beast, and those are all very important Pokemon as well, that popped up over the next 3 years. But in this format, we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. We kind of get to see how in a restricted format, these not as powerful Pokemon, non-restricted Pokemon, non-legendary Pokemon, can really kind of shine and show up. We're probably going to be approaching this type of format relatively soon, as Series 7 will probably come around, and we know for sure that Crown Tundra is going to have a lot of these legendary Pokemon. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and a thing to look forward to for these next few months in 2020 VGC. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this match, like I said, between Wolfe, Glick, and Jonathan Evans. What? So, Wolfe starts off with Kyogre and Rayquaza. Now, so one thing to think about for this format, and we see Jonathan leading with Kyogre of his own as well as Gengar. One thing to remember about this format is that Groudon Xerneas was a very, very powerful core. There was kind of one set team that really was doing super, super well, and you either had to counter it or play it. Now, neither Jonathan nor Wolfe even have Xerneas on their team, but Xerneas, Power Herb Xerneas with Geomancy, getting that boost immediately, was very, very powerful, super, super threatening. And these players had to kind of figure out how they were going to beat that. And as we see, they are in Worlds Finals now. We see the Primal Reversion from both Kyogres. And now we get to see there's 3 legendaries on the battlefield and 1 Gengar. Gengar usually used with its Shadow Tag ability to keep Pokemon trapped in. Kyogres can have Origin Pulse. They can also have Water Spout to get guaranteed damage a little bit more often. Well, not necessarily guaranteed, but more accurate damage in. And this Rayquaza is the kind of Mega Evolution Pokemon of choice for Wolfe. Jonathan, though, the Gengar could Mega Evolve, but it's still a good Pokemon without the Mega Evolution. We see Wolfe, they're actually withdrawing the Rayquaza, so we see Gengar does not have Shadow Tag, and Raichu comes out. Raichu, a Gengar there, we see the Mega Evolution starting. Raichu is a Pokemon, it's a very good support Pokemon with moves like Fake Out, Nuzzle, but it can also have damaging moves with Thunderbolt, or we know in this format there is a potential for it to use Endeavor, I believe. And here we see Wolfe opting for the Water Spout in favor of the Origin Pulse, and we see it does not KO the Gengar. Origin Pulse is a stronger move than Water Spout traditionally. That likely would have gotten the KO there, but Wolfe just wanted to get the guaranteed damage in. And we see the Thunderbolt from Jonathan's Kyogre actually getting drawn into Raichu's Lightning Rod. So Wolfe, they're swapping out the Rayquaza. The slot wasn't targeted at all, so even if it was a bit of a defensive switch, that Lightning Rod still just kind of covers all of the options. Wolfe's Kyogre doesn't really take any damage outside of Gengar's Sludge Bomb, and Raichu absorbs that Thunder Bolt, and absorbs the Thunder, and we are in the clear. So Jonathan here, the Mega Evolution from Gengar has just come out. Unlike with Dynamax, the Mega Evolution will just stick, which is, very, very good for Jonathan. That means he can freely switch out this Gengar. However, since it is so weak, you almost wonder, since it's so fast, you might want it to start trying to do some damage here. Raichu can't fake out the Gengar, and Jonathan bringing in Groudon. This will get rid of the Primordial Sea effect from the Kyogre previously and replace it with the Primordial Sun, nullifying water moves, putting Wolfe's Kyogre in a little bit of a rough spot, as Raichu doesn't really want to be dealing with this, and there we see the Desolate Land, my apologies, coming up, Desolate Land, and the Sunlight turns extremely harsh. Gengar using Protect, very defensive play from Jonathan here, just making sure that Wolfe can't get a lot of damage off. Raichu uses the Fake Out into the Kyogre slot, and Ice Beam comes out, Gengar protects itself. So nothing too fancy coming out here, but now that this Desolate Land is up, Kyogre's in a bit of a tougher spot. Origin Pulse and Water Spout, neither one of those moves are going to be doing, like, they will do literally 0 damage now. We saw that Ice Beam. You almost have to imagine that there is a Protect on this Kyogre. So right now it is only Ice Beams, and that is not going to be doing very much to either Groudon or Gengar. And this Raichu is not in a very great spot either. It does not want to be facing down this Groudon. The potential Precipice Blades here could do so much damage, but of course it has the same potential to miss, just like Origin Pulse does. Now Gengar, though, it's still sticking out here. I imagine Jonathan just said, you know what, we're going to get as much use out of this Gengar as possible while it is on this battlefield, and we're going to keep throwing out as many attacks as possible. However, he decides to switch it out, saving it for a later date, potentially trying to use it as a fast way to deal with Wolfe's last Pokemon, and Bronzong comes in. And a double switch from Jonathan here. Harsh Sunlight fades, and it looks like Kyogre is coming back in. Jonathan, we see on that face cam there, looks like maybe he wanted to do something else. Wolfe's Kyogre uses that Protect. There we see that 4th move, and Raichu uses Endeavor into Jonathan Evans' Kyogre. It doesn't do very much damage. That defensive switch, the double switch, definitely kind of leads to some interesting play here. Now we're kind of back in a similar spot, except Bronzong is on the battlefield. Now Bronzong is it's a fairly bulky Pokemon. It's not going to take a lot of damage from either Kyogre or Raichu, but it's not necessarily going to be dealing out a ton of damage either. Something like a Gyro Ball could do quite a bit of damage to Raichu, as Raichu is very, very speedy. But you also have to imagine maybe this thing has Trick Room, as well as some other support moves. Trick Room, Gyro Ball, maybe Psychic to deal a little bit more damage. But it's definitely in an interesting spot because I don't know if Jonathan wants to try to set up Trick Room right here. Volt Switch comes out into the Bronzong. Does a good chunk of damage, but not too much. Raichu will go back. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rayquaza actually come back out here. It's not in a terrible spot. It will be relatively speedy as long as this Bronzong doesn't set up Trick Room. And Jonathan is probably not going to be sending out something too scary, but Wolfe actually decides to bring in Hitmontop. Intimidate not really mattering too much here, but it does have but Hitmontop does have Fake Out, and Wolfe's Kyogre going for that Water Spout again. It's going to be doing a little bit less damage thanks to the chip from the Gengar earlier, and Water Spout comes out now. Going to be doing a good chunk. Almost takes out the Hitmontop, brings Wolfe's Kyogre below half. Hitmontop looks like it's switching out with the eject button. Now we'll see if Wolfe wants to bring Raichu back in. Wolfe has options. Jonathan now knows all 4 Pokemon that Wolfe brought. Wolfe has known all 4 for Jonathan's for a couple turns now. And it will be interesting. Right now, Wolfe's Kyogre is under a decent amount of pressure in a 1v1. Bronzong could potentially get off a Trick Room still, which wouldn't be the best thing in the world. It looks like Jonathan's Kyogre might be slower than Wolfe's, which would put Jonathan at an advantage thanks to the speed and thanks to Wolfe's Kyogre being at a slightly lower health total. Offensive pressure would be very good here, and here we see Rayquaza coming out. Now, one interesting thing to note is that Rayquaza still has not Mega Evolved. There we see the Trick Room coming out, Airlock, making the effects of weather disappear. However, if Desolate Land comes into play, it will be putting in plenty of work against that Airlock. Actually, it looks like both Kyogres are at about equal amounts of HP. But however, Trick Room is now up, and either Bronzong is going to be the fastest Pokemon on the battlefield, or Jonathan's is probably, I would imagine it's slightly EV'd to outspeed other Kyogres in Trick Room. Alternatively, Groudon could come in now. Desolate Land could go up, but with Rayquaza on the battlefield, it's not the safest play in the world, as Rayquaza Mega Evolving will just reset the weather yet again, and that is not something that, and Jonathan does not want to be staring down a Mega Evolved Rayquaza without weather support right now. We see both players really thinking about it. Wolfe withdraws his Kyogre. Raichu comes in. Now here's the thing, Rayquaza would not have liked to take a Thunderbolt. There's a chance here that that Lightning Rod triggers again. Bronzong Gyro Ball into the Rayquaza. It protects Kyogre, uses that Thunder. My apologies. I keep saying Thunderbolt. I mean Thunder. And Raichu's special attack rises again. So this is kind of a scary position for Jonathan. Wolfe's switches have been very, very strong here. Most of Jonathan's Pokemon are at half or less HP. Bronzong is at 8. We know that Gengar is at 10. Kyogre is below half. And Wolfe's Pokemon are relatively healthy. Rayquaza is at full HP. Raichu's at full HP. Kyogre's at half. Hitmontop is a little weak. But it's that Pokemon. It has Fake Out support. It has Intimidate. Its job is to kind of just switch in and be there for one turn. At which point, it's pretty much good to go. So Jonathan here really has to consider this. Bronzong is going to be going down to just one attack. A single Fake Out might even knock it out, which would certainly not be great. And here we see Bronzong switching out. If he's going into Gengar, anticipating the Fake Out or even the Groudon. Groudon is a very bulky Pokemon. We saw it only did 10 damage last time with the Fake Out. But of course, Raichu could be going in to that Primal Kyogre. Kyogre using the Protect here, kind of just saying, all right, I'm not going to let this Fake Out disrupt my turn. I'm going to make sure we play pretty defensively. Kyogre does Protect, and the Rayquaza goes for a Swords Dance here. Not Mega Evolving yet. Anticipated that Groudon switch and wanting to make sure that Wolfe is Mega Evolving at the right time to make sure that all weather is just completely neutralized. And this Rayquaza now is extremely, extremely scary. Any of its attacks, Dragon Ascent, Swords Dance boosted Dragon Ascent is not going to be fun for any of Jonathan's Pokemon to take, especially with Bronzong being so weak, and all of Jonathan's defensive Pokemon are, well, all of Jonathan's defensive Pokemon. Really, Bronzong is the defensive Pokemon. Groudon also fairly bulky, but none of these Pokemon are going to want to be dealing with this Rayquaza where it stands. Raichu, though, the Fake Out has been used. It's relatively quick. It could go for a Volt Switch into Kyogre, but instead we actually see Wolfe not Mega Evolving yet, going for an Extreme Speed into the Kyogre, taking it out. Now this Raichu, we did see it has Endeavor. It might be going for that. Precipice Blade's not affecting the Rayquaza. Hits the Raichu. We'll see if it survives. If it does, an Endeavor here could do so much damage, but Raichu does go down. So now it is a Kyogre and a Hitmontop in the back for Wolfe. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Hitmontop come in, just get an Intimidate off on the Groudon, making sure it's not going to be doing as much damage for the next couple of turns, unless Jonathan wants to risk it and switch it out into one of his very, very weak Pokemon. But of course, Jonathan is not in a phenomenal spot. This, like, Groudon Precipice Blades doesn't do anything to Rayquaza, and that is Groudon's strongest move. And even if it has something like Eruption, that's not good. That's a special move. Groudon is normally physical, and that's not going to be doing a ton of damage to Rayquaza thanks to its Resist. And like we said, Wolfe still hasn't Mega Evolved. This Rayquaza is putting on so much pressure. It's done so much damage without the Mega Evolution, boosting its stats to even more insane levels. Jonathan brings out the Gengar. It is Mega Evolved. It's relatively quick, and Wolfe sends out that Hitmontop, getting an Intimidate onto the Groudon, ensuring that's going to be doing even less damage, even if it has something like Rock Slide. So, Wolfe, of course, Hitmontop has the option to Fake Out. Doubling into the Groudon here, kind of might goes right into a Protect, but it could also kind of guarantee Gengar isn't going to be... I doubt Gengar is going to be able to knock out Rayquaza. It could, of course, take out the Hitmontop, but if I'm Wolfe, I think that's kind of fine. Gengar, though, switching out, Jonathan kind of playing as defensively as possible here, and Bronzong comes in again. We'll see where this Fake Out goes. I imagine that that's the move that's going to happen, and we see the Mega Evolution coming from the Rayquaza. Is it finally time for a Dragon Ascent? Try to take out this Groudon? We shall see. Delta Stream comes on out. Desolate Land wiped off of the battlefield. Fake Out comes through into the Groudon. No Protect from Jonathan. Groudon flinches, and the Dragon Ascent comes through. We'll see if this double targets the Groudon. If it does, it's going to be doing so much damage. Might not talk it out, but Swords Dance is a very powerful move. Bronzong, of course, though, with that only at 8 HP, goes down, and it's a crit. Maybe a little bit excessive there from the Rayquaza, but that might be alright. Special Defense, though, does fall. That could be big. Twisted Dimensions return to normal. And we are now... And so now Rayquaza is the fastest Pokemon on the battlefield. Gengar not in a great spot. Hitmontop fake out has been used. It's not in a great position either, but this Rayquaza is scary. There's no switching out for Jonathan Evans here. Groudon has an Intimidate on it. Wolfe could honestly switch out the Hitmontop, let his Kyogre in the back just kind of fall, and then come in with another Intimidate and things would be wrapped up. But that's another thing to keep in mind. Kyogre is still in the back here, and it can come in now. The Primordial Sea can go up, and then all of a sudden it can start just throwing out some Water Spouts and Origin Pulses, even Ice Beams into the Groudon. And that's going to be a very, very tough game for Jonathan Evans to come back on. Potentially, you can protect Groudon, try to get up Trick Room with the Gengar, and then start using Rock Slide. Hitmontop, though, using that wide guard. Wolfe not even taking the chance there. Gengar using Will-O-Wisp. Does get it onto the Rayquaza. That's going to neutralize the attack boost from Swords Dance, but it's still going to be very, very strong. Dragon Ascent comes through. Looks like Wolfe read the Protect from the Groudon, going right into the Gengar and takes it out. I like that play a lot from Wolfe because Kyogre is still in the back. And even if Rayquaza does go down to a Rock Slide from Groudon, which it wouldn't because Hitmontop went with the Wide Guard, if either of Wolfe's Pokemon go down, he can just bring in Kyogre and start throwing out some Origin Pulses, start throwing out some Water Spouts, and Groudon is going to just go down to those so fast, even with Kyogre, even with a Water Spout at Kyogre below half. So that definitely kind of covers all of the options there. Groudon, even if it goes for Precipice Blades, it's a double target move. Rock Slide's a double target move. Really, all of its moves are double target, and Wide Guard just puts that in, just completely makes Groudon useless if Hitmontop stays alive. And with the Gengar using Will-O-Wisp, Hitmontop does its job and ensures that nothing too scary can happen. Wolfe actually withdraws the Rayquaza, even with the Swords Dance boost. Mysterious Air Current dissipates, and Kyogre comes in, and now Wolfe can just click Wide Guard, it seems. And CFC is relatively confident in the fact that Groudon isn't going to have any moves that are going to be able to take out Kyogre, and looks like we see that Wide Guard come in again. Groudon uses Eruption, Fire Attack fizzles out in the rain, and we know we saw Precipice Blades. Rock Slide is a very traditional move to have on Groudon in these battles, and game 1 goes to Jonathan Evans. Very interesting game. We saw a lot of defensive switching, really from both sides. Jonathan kind of getting the short end of the stick on that. We did see that one turn where he switches in Kyogre, swaps out Groudon, puts in Kyogre, and he kind of holds his head in his hands briefly. You have to wonder, maybe there was some mistake there. Maybe Jonathan didn't want the Desolate Land to go away, and bringing Kyogre brings up the Primordial Sea again. That might have been a little bit of what was happening there, though we can't entirely be sure. But definitely a good game. We saw Wolfe kind of playing to his end game there, of get Groudon on the field and have Hitmontop bring in Kyogre, and Groudon's moves all of a sudden can't even touch Wolfe's Pokemon. Of course, if there even is one other Pokemon, if there is a Gengar, if there is a Bronzong, if there's any of those still on Jonathan's side, then it does get a little bit dicey. But if it's just a Groudon, then Wolfe can do what he wants as long as there's Hitmontop and Kyogre. So that might kind of be Wolfe's game plan. Take out all of the pieces around that Groudon, use Rayquaza to make sure that stuff like Primordial Sea and Desolate Land from Jonathan's side aren't advantageous at all. And then lock things down with Hitmontop and Kyogre in the back, make sure those two stay alive, and ensure the victory with a Groudon being the only thing left alive at the very end. So we'll see what adjustments are made here. We saw Wolfe didn't actually Mega Evolve. I'm having to not say Dynamax. Didn't Mega Evolve his Rayquaza there up until the last couple of turns, which gave him kind of an advantage there. The Airlock was important. It did do some things, but that Mega Evolution at the specific time to get the Delta Stream up was pretty effective and very important. And we'll see what happens in game number 2. I mean, we know what happens. If you've watched this, you know what happens. But let's take a look at this once more. So Wolfe actually coming out with the same lead, and Jonathan matching him with the lead. So Wolfe starting off Rayquaza and Kyogre. Both Kyogres here are going to be Primal Reverting. Once again, it looks like Wolfe's Kyogre is faster. potentially, or maybe this was Jonathan's first? I'm not entirely sure. No, it was Wolfe's first and then Jonathan's. So it does look like Wolfe's Kyogre pretty much for sure is faster than Jonathan's, which is understandable. However, both players do have Gengar on the team. Maybe, you know, potentially Wolfe's Gengar also has Trick Room. Could be to reverse, could be to set it up himself. But definitely seems like Jonathan's Kyogre is slower. So Jonathan here is in the exact same spot before. Last time Jonathan used Thunder in this position. If I am him, I don't think you can do that again. You know Wolfe is anticipating it. You know Wolfe has the Raichu with the Lightning Rod. Very scary to deal with, especially with a Thunder. And but there's not much else that Jonathan's Kyogre can really do except for maybe an Ice Beam into the Rayquaza. But Wolfe could also be anticipating that at the same time, because here's the thing. Wolfe's switch last game from Rayquaza into Raichu. Raichu eating an Ice Beam is kind of fine. It's not going to be dying to it, and it makes sure that neither of Kyogre or Rayquaza are going down in one hit. But yet, Kyogre is kind of the end game here. So Rayquaza does switch out. Raichu comes back in. Same play as before. And Gengar once again Mega Evolving right off the bat. So far, first turn has played out the exact same as game 1. A little bit of deja vu. Sludge Bomb even coming out here. Damage on the Kyogre, except this time there is a poison. That could be huge. And Wolfe's Kyogre uses Origin Pulse this time, going for it. Not going for the Water Spell, getting the KO on Gengar this time, which is definitely an important thing here. Now Jonathan is down a Pokemon at the beginning of this game. And Jonathan actually going for an Origin Pulse on his side now. No Thunder, going to be doing a ton of damage. Raichu does not go down, but it takes a lot. Kyogre takes a lot of damage. And now Poison brings it even lower. And Wolfe's endgame against that Groudon getting a little bit sketchy already. We'll see what Jonathan brings in here. That's kind of going to be the big thing. Could be potentially the Groudon. We did see the Bronzong last time. We do know that Jonathan also has a Manectric on his team. That could certainly be an option. It puts Raichu in a little bit of a difficult spot, but Manectric also doesn't like to go up against Raichu. As it cannot Mega Evolve, as Gengar already Mega Evolved, going down in one hit, unfortunately. And Wolfe is still in a decent position here, honestly. But Jonathan's Kyogre is healthier than Wolfe's, which is scary. Jonathan could bring in Bronzong, could try to go for the Trick Room, but instead Groudon comes in, getting rid of the Primordial Sea, and after it Primal Reverts real quick, it will be setting up that Desolate Land. Now, if I'm Wolfe here, if you switch in Rayquaza, it can't Mega Evolve right off the bat. So it will be, you know, momentarily a little bit weaker. And right now, Kyogre, neither Origin Pulse nor Water Spout, as we've seen out of Wolfe, are going to be doing a ton of damage. We saw that Ice Beam isn't going to do very much. Raichu, of course, could go for a Volt Switch into Jonathan's Kyogre. Would do a lot of damage, would be able to get a switch in. But then Rayquaza is out. It's a little bit open to an Ice Beam from Jonathan's Kyogre, which puts things in a little bit of a rough spot. And Groudon, of course, can go with Precipice Blades, can go with Eruption, any of those types of moves. None of Wolfe's Pokemon want to take them. That's kind of the thing with these primal Pokemon. You don't want to be taking Precipice Blades. You don't want to be taking an Eruption. They're a very, very powerful move. They do lots of damage. And no Pokemon can handily deal with them. However, Wolfe actually brings in the Hitmontop to get an Intimidate on the Groudon. Relatively strong here. Make sure that potentially Wolfe's Pokemon in the back, if it is, which we know is Rayquaza, can take some damage. Jonathan, though, actually switches out the Groudon again, brings in the Bronzong, and now the Primordial Sea will go back up, meaning Jonathan's Kyogre can get some damage in, but the Endeavor comes out here. Origin Pulse goes through, it hits both Pokemon. Raichu's probably going to go down. Hitmontop we saw last time did not die, and now Eject Button will switch it out. So we will be seeing either Rayquaza or Kyogre here, and Wolfe's endgame still intact. It's still in play. Of course, Jonathan has taken out Raichu already, but Wolfe has taken out Gengar. Took out Gengar before that. So it's we're a little bit in the same spot here, except Wolfe's Kyogre is weaker. It is poisoned. Hitmontop is weak. The Eject Button is already used. But this Rayquaza, of course, the main threat kind of on Wolfe's team is still here. Still very much here. Very much going to have an impact on this battle. Wolfe, though, of course, only one Fake Out Pokemon left. The Intimidate is going to be important, but Groudon is not on the battlefield right now. This Bronzong, it can set up Trick Room, which would make Kyogre move faster than this Rayquaza. Ice Beams coming out would not be very fun for Wolfe to deal with, and he would have to continue to make these very smart switches that he has been, and very important calls that he's been making throughout this game. If I'm on Jonathan's side, Kyogre here, like both of Kyogre and Groudon can have positive matchups against Rayquaza. They can. They have strong moves against it. Groudon with the potential for Rock Slide, Kyogre with Ice Beam. They have good coverage moves. However, because they move slower than Rayquaza, it's kind of a tough position to be in, which is, that kind of shows how important Bronzong can be in this matchup, as Trick Room is so huge, so pivotal in getting these primal Pokemon to be able to deal with Rayquaza. The main thing now for Jonathan, though, Jonathan's Kyogre is weak. Wolfe's Kyogre is poisoned and will probably be going down to an Origin Pulse if Jonathan can hit it. A Protect from Kyogre plus a Trick Room from Bronzong would not be very fun for Jonathan to deal with. Now on Wolfe's side, we saw the Origin Pulse before. Water Spout is not going to be doing very much damage. It might potentially be, Jonathan's Kyogre might potentially be in range of a Water Spout, but if I'm Wolfe, I don't know if I risk that. Hitmontop switches in, brings the Intimidate. There's no eject button, so it's not going to be able to safely switch. And we'll see what happens with Rayquaza. Rayquaza goes for the Dragon Ascent, tries to get some damage off here. It should KO Kyogre if that is the target. And there it goes down. Defense falls and special defense falls. Not a great position for Rayquaza to be in if this Bronzong can set up Trick Room. Heavy Rain lifts, and there we see that Trick Room come out. Groudon's going to be coming in. It's going to be faster than this Rayquaza. So Wolfe has two options here. Ensure that, well, Hitmontop is on the battlefield for the first time. So Groudon here is going to be faster than Rayquaza under Trick Room. It's not going to have an Intimidate on it, but the potential for Fake Out is still there. Now, of course, Bronzong can go for a Gyro Ball. It could even go for a Psychic into the Hitmontop if it has that move. So far, we have only seen the two, Trick Room and Gyro Ball. And we will see what Wolfe wants to do really after this. Rayquaza, of course, still hasn't Mega Evolved yet. It can Mega Evolve, get rid of the weather effects from Groudon, and it'll put Jonathan in a pickle. Once again, this Groudon is on the battlefield. Kyogre is still on the back for Wolfe, and as soon as this Bronzong goes down, Wolfe's previous endgame of Hitmontop plus Kyogre puts this Groudon kind of into the ground, for lack of a better word. Jonathan really has to kind of consider here, again, Gyro Ball is going to be doing a lot of damage to either Hitmontop or Rayquaza. But you can almost guarantee that Fake Out is going into the Groudon, and you have to consider that with this move. A Mega Evolved Dragon Ascent into Groudon plus a Fake Out, I mean, it's going to be doing a ton of damage. It might not knock out Groudon completely, but it's going to put it in a very, very precarious position. Trick Room, of course, will last for quite a while, and that might be enough for Jonathan to win. However, if the Dragon Ascent is enough to KO Groudon from this range after a Fake Out, then that's kind of going to be it for Jonathan. And of course, a Rock Slide is kind of mitigated by this Delta Stream from Rayquaza now, because the Primordial Sun gets wiped away. There's no switching for Jonathan here. Protect comes through from Groudon. Hitmontop uses Fake Out into the Bronzong. We'll see what this Rayquaza does. Bronzong flinches, and Rayquaza goes for the Swords Dance here. Woof! So, despite the potential for a Rock Slide from the Groudon, despite the potential from any of these very, very scary moves to come through, Wolfe says, you know what, I'm going to let this Groudon just kind of chill here. Jonathan kind of saying, no, I need this Groudon to survive. I need it to get a move off. I can't let it get Fake Out. I can't let it get hit by Fake Out. I have to protect this turn to ensure that it survives. Wolfe saying, all right, I know this Bronzong isn't going to be dealing enough. I know this I can fake out this Bronzong safely here, since you're going to think that because this Groudon is under too much pressure. So you're going to have to protect. So now this Rayquaza has the Swords Dance. However, it does have a defense and special defense drop. This is not wrapped up in the bag. Trick Room is still up. Bronzong, as we said, Gyro Ball is going to be doing a ton of damage. Groudon is still very threatening. The Delta Stream, though, is scary. There is no Intimidate on the Groudon, but Wolfe withdraws the Hitmontop. Jonathan, we can kind of see in the corner there, either anticipated that or hoped for that. Kyogre comes through. Primordial Sea comes through. Now that Delta Stream is not going to be saving Rayquaza from a potential Rock Slide here. Gyro Ball comes through into the Rayquaza. It's going to be doing a chunk of damage. And Precipice Blades comes through. It doesn't affect Rayquaza. And Kyogre avoids the attack. That could be pretty big, but either way, this Rayquaza was going to survive, and Dragon Ascent was going to come through. Hits into the Groudon with Swords Dance. It almost knocks it out, but not completely. Rayquaza's defense falls, Rayquaza's special defense falls, and Kyogre takes a little bit more damage from that poison. Swords Dance, though, not quite doing enough to KO the Groudon, but even under Trick Room, this might not be enough. As we saw, there was no Rock Slide coming from Jonathan Evans, potentially thinking, okay, if we're still in the Delta Stream, we cannot guarantee that that's gonna we can't guarantee that that's actually going to do enough, and Jonathan might not even have it. You know, I keep saying Rock Slide, it's a move we see on Groudon a lot, but it might not be there. It might just be Eruption, Precipice Blades, maybe an Earthquake. Not entirely certain. But now Jonathan's kind of only move so far that we've seen that can hit Rayquaza is Eruption. And right now it's just been Precipice Blades. And Wolfe just sitting in that one slot, switching in and out, in and out, in and out. And the Hitmontop coming in, getting an Intimidate off. And if that's not the nail in the coffin, I don't know what is. That Intimidate going to be making sure that very little, if any, damage comes out of this Groudon for the future. Protect comes through. Once again, let's see if there's another. I doubt we'll see another setup from Wolfe. Extreme Speed from Rayquaza, though. Does get the Protect off. Jonathan there clasping his hands, maybe praying for a critical hit, but no such luck. Rayquaza does survive. Now this Hitmontop can use a fake out. Rayquaza, we see the Extreme Speed. Wolfe is in a very good position here. The Bronzing, of course, could protect. Jonathan could go for the double protect on the Groudon. You have to think that maybe that is the way that Jonathan wins. Getting a Gyro Ball into the Groudon if Hitmontop potentially tries to fake out into the Groudon. But if you're Wolfe here, you say, all right, Groudon has to either double protect or triple protect. I can fake out the Bronzong, Extreme Speed the Groudon, and unless he gets a protect off on the Groudon this turn and the next turn, this Bronzong is not going to be getting enough Gyro Balls off to KO the Rayquaza. And there we see the fake out come through. We're probably going to be seeing the Extreme Speed from Rayquaza take out the Groudon. If it doesn't die from to Extreme Speed from this range, I don't know what it would die to. And there it goes down. It's now a Bronzong against the world. Bronzong flinches, of course. Twisted Dimensions return to normal. It's not even going to be moving first anymore. And despite all of Wolfe's Pokemon being very, very weak, there is a chance that Bronzong could try to stall this out. We could see Protects here. We could see 2-3 Protects in a row, which just might do it. But nope. Looks like Jonathan might not even have the Protect there. And the Dragon Descent comes through from Wolfe. We'll see if it does. We'll see if it does enough. Bronzong is relatively bulky, and looks like we might have 1 or 2 more turns left here. But even with that, Close Combat comes through from the Hitmontop. That's going to be doing a good chunk of damage. And now there is just not really much of a chance for this Bronzong to take out enough Pokemon to do enough damage to really finish off the rest of Wolfe's team. Rayquaza goes down. Hitmontop into Kyogre versus the Bronzong, and well, this is all just about wrapped up. One more Close Combat from Hitmontop, 1 more Ice Beam, what have you, and Wolfe Glick has got this one in the bag. One last move from this Bronzong here. We will see what happens. Water Spout coming through. Wolfe once again not wanting to miss this move, and Bronzong goes down, and that is the finals of Worlds 2016 between Wolfe Glick and Jonathan Evans. Wolfe Glick comes out on top 2-0, but it was still, that second game did get pretty close. Wolfe's Pokemon were very, very low. A Precipice Blades hit from Groudon there could have been super, super scary, but we kind of saw why this match was so cool. We saw Wolfe really make some awesome calls, make some really, really good switches, great reads. Jonathan being fairly aggressive in that second game, but we also saw some pretty smart switches, some defensive switches from Jonathan, trying to use his types resistances, really trying to use the weather control to the best of his ability. And overall, very fantastic match. It's always nice and refreshing to see a format different than what we've kind of been in for the past, year or so. But thank you all very much for watching. We'll see what match we kind of go into next. Maybe we'll look at previous Worlds match, Worlds 2014 potentially, although I'm not as familiar with that format. But we always have regionals to look at, VODs from previous tournaments, large and small. But thank you all very much for watching. Be safe, be smart, make wise decisions. Farewell.